Ever get that feeling like there's got to be something more to this whole reality thing, you know?
More than what we see every day.
Yeah, exactly. Like beyond just our day-to-day experience. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a pretty fundamental human question.
It is, right? And so today we're going to dive deep into a really fascinating concept from Sanatan Dharma, or as it's often called, Hinduism, that kind of speaks to this very idea of the existence of multiple realms or lokas.
Like different levels or planes of existence.
Exactly. And these aren't just your typical heaven and hell kind of thing. We're talking a whole intricate system described in detail in these ancient texts called the Puranas.
Yeah, they're like these huge collections of stories and knowledge that form a whole cosmology. It's really pretty mind-blowing when you start to dig into it.
It is. And to help us unpack all this, we're turning to the work of author Babu Shankar. You might know him from his books like Time Travelers of Dwarka and Saptarishi.
He's got a really interesting way of connecting these ancient ideas with a more modern, even scientific perspective.
Yeah, that's what we always find so intriguing about his work. So for today's deep dive, our mission is to really understand what these 14 lokas are, where they're supposed to be, which might surprise you, and who lives in them. Plus, we'll explore if there are any parallels to these concepts in modern science, you know?
So we're not just taking these as stories, we're trying to look for the deeper meaning and maybe even some connections to how we understand the universe today.
Right. So to start things off, let's just lay out the basic structure of these 14 lokas.
All right, so the Puranas describe this kind of hierarchical system, like a cosmic ladder, if you will.
A cosmic ladder, I like that.
And our Earth Loka is considered the central point. And then there are 6 lokas above us and 7 Pitrlokas below.
Okay, so 7 below and 6 above. Got it. So let's start with those 7 Pitrlokas. What are their names?
Moving downwards from Earth, we have Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Mahatala, Rasala, Talatala.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
And finally, Patala.
Okay, so these Pitrlokas, they're often described as the realms of the Asuras, right?
Right, and it's important to understand that Asuras aren't necessarily just evil demons in the simplest sense.
Yeah, there's definitely more nuance to it than that.
Exactly. They represent a certain kind of energy or consciousness.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more like primal or intention with the cosmic order.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got the 7 below. Now, what about the 6 lokas above Buloka?
So moving upwards, we have Pitrloka, Sarloka, Maharloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka. And at the very top, Satyaloka, which is also known as Brahma Loka.
Brahma Loka, the realm of Brahma.
Okay, so each of these lokas is associated with specific inhabitants, right? Like different types of beings.
Exactly. It's as if each realm supports a different kind of life or consciousness.
Okay, so let's go through them, starting with Satyaloka at the very top. Who lives there?
Well, that's said to be the residence of Brahma himself, the creator of the universe.
Ah, the big guy himself.
And also his most devoted followers, including Saraswati, who plays a key role in creation.
So it's like the cosmic control center for the whole creation process. You could say that.
Yeah.
And it shows how even the creator deity is part of this cosmic architecture. It's not just some abstract concept.
Right. And just below Satyaloka, we have Janaloka. What's going on there?
Janaloka is the home of Brahma's sons. So think of it as the next level down in this hierarchy, still very close to the source of creation.
Okay. And then comes Tapaloka.
That's right. Tapaloka is inhabited by Tapasvis individuals who are deeply engaged in intense spiritual practices.
So like a realm of serious self-discipline and spiritual work.
Exactly. The very name implies a focus on tapas, which means austerity and inner discipline.
Makes sense. All right, moving down the ladder, we get to Maharloka.
And that's where the great rishis, or sages, are said to reside.
Like the really famous ones, we're talking figures like Markandeya Rishi, who is said to live for eons, and Vashishta, a super wise and revered sage.
Exactly. It's like a cosmic hall of fame for these spiritual giants who have achieved incredible levels of wisdom and power.
So if you want to hang out with the wisest of the wise, Maharloka is the place to be.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Next up is Svarloka, also known as Svarga.
Svarga, that's often translated as heaven, right?
Right. It's the realm of the Devas, or gods, like Indra, Agni, and Varuna.
And Indra's the king there. So it's like a blissful heavenly abode, a reward for virtuous deeds.
That's how it's often depicted, a place of pleasure and enjoyment. But it's still within the cycle of birth and death, unlike the higher lokas, or the ultimate liberation of moksha.
Ah, so even heaven isn't the final stop.
Got it.
Okay, so just below Svarloka, we have Pitrloka.
And this one's interesting. Pitrloka is described as the location of all planets and celestial bodies.
All of them. Like, not just our solar system, but everything out there.
That's right. It encompasses the entire cosmos as we understand it with our modern astronomy.
So it's not just about these spiritual realms being separate from the physical universe. They're all connected somehow.
Exactly. Loka suggests this integration of the physical and the metaphysical.
Then finally, we arrive back home at Loka, our own Earth.
The stage for all our actions and experiences.
And the consequences of our choices.
Or a little corner of this vast cosmic structure.
Now, we can't forget about the inhabitants of the Pitrlokas, the Asuras. You mentioned that it's important to distinguish them from the Daityas and Danavas.
Right. Babu Shankar makes it very clear that those are actually earth dwellers. They live right here on Loka.
So they're not the same as the Asuras who reside in the Pitrlokas.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting because a lot of people think that Loka is like this underground realm deep within the earth.
Yeah, I always pictured it that way, like some kind of subterranean world.
But Babu Shankar offers a different perspective. He says that Loka isn't necessarily beneath our feet.
Wait, really? So where is it then?
The idea is that it refers to galaxies and solar systems located in the south direction from Earth.
So it's like a directional cosmic location rather than an actual physical place underground.
Exactly. And similarly, the Lokas above Loka are located in the north direction, in other planetary systems and galaxies.
So it's like this huge cosmic geography. We're talking about a truly universal scale here.
It really expands our understanding of what these realms could be.
And then there's the concept of Brahmandas' multiple universes. That just blows my mind.
The Puranas talk about an infinite number of Brahmandas, each one a complete universe.
So there could be countless versions of everything out there, each with its own unique configuration.
That's the idea. And while each Brahmanda might have its own Brahma, Vishnu is seen as the singular preserver and governor across all of them.
So Vishnu is like the ultimate cosmic constant across all these universes.
Exactly. And the purpose of all this creation is described as a process for punyatma souls who have accumulated positive merit to evolve.
To evolve and eventually attain moksha, liberation from the cycle of birth and death.
Right. And ultimately reach Vaikuntha, the supreme abode of Vishnu.
So it's all about the soul's journey towards ultimate freedom.
You can say that. And it even touches on the idea of parallel universes and the possibility of other versions of ourselves existing in different Brahmandas.
Whoa, that's trippy. But the general understanding is that souls don't typically transfer between them, right?
Right. There are a few exceptions, like the story of Kakapushundi, a sage, who is said to be able to travel between Brahmandas.
So it's possible, but extremely rare.
Exactly. Okay, so let's come back to Earth for a minute and talk about those deities, Danavas, and Rakshasas. We need to clear up who's who.
Yeah, it can get a little confusing.
So the deities are descendants of Didi and Kashyapa Rishi, and the Danavas are descendants of Denu and Kashyapa Rishi.
And they both live on Earth, right?
Right, they're both part of our planet's ecosystem.
Okay, and what about Rakshasas? Are they a separate group?
Rakshasa isn't really a separate race or lineage. It's more like a quality or pravriti.
A tendency, like a certain type of behavior.
Exactly. It's characterized by negative traits, and it can be found in various beings, including humans, deities, and Danavas.
So you could have a human who exhibits Rakshasa-like tendencies?
Precisely. It's about their actions in nature rather than their species.
That makes sense. Now, with all these different lokas and beings, is travel between them actually possible, according to these ancient texts?
The texts definitely talk about such travel. They mention these things called vimanas.
Vimanas? What are those?
They're like flying vehicles, capable of traveling not just through our skies, but also between different dimensions or lokas.
So like ancient spaceships or something?
Kind of. There are texts like Maharishi Bharadwaja's Vaimanik Shastra that describe different types of vimanas designed for specific types of travel.
So some were for traveling within Loka and others for going to different lokas like Brahma Loka or Loka.
Exactly. It suggests a very advanced understanding of transportation and possibly even interdimensional travel.
It makes you wonder what kind of technology they might have had back then.
And if we've lost something along the way.
Speaking of mysterious places, what about Mount Kailash and Mansarovar Lake? There are so many stories about them.
Kailash is revered as the abode of Shiva on Loka. It's an incredibly sacred place.
And Mansarovar Lake is supposed to have all these strange occurrences.
Right. There are stories about objects disappearing and reappearing in the lake. And some people claim to hear the sound of Om coming from it in the early morning.
That's pretty wild. And Babu Shankar says that beings from other lokas are said to visit Kailash too.
Yakshas, Gandharvas, Devas, even Asuras. It's like a cosmic meeting point.
The place where different realms intersect. Wow, okay, so now let's try to connect all this to modern science. Are there any parallels between the multi-loka concept and our current understanding of the universe?
Well, modern physics does explore the idea of multiple dimensions beyond the three we can perceive. And there's the concept of the multiverse, where our reality is just one of many.
So the different lokas could potentially exist in these other dimensions.
Exactly. Beyond our normal senses and scientific instruments.
It's like we only see a tiny sliver of what's actually out there.
And some believe that yogic practices and deep meditation can actually activate latent senses that allow us to perceive these other dimensions.
So it's like a different kind of science, a science of consciousness.
You could say that.
Now here's a question that I'm sure a lot of people have. If these higher lokas and their powerful inhabitants exist, why don't they intervene more directly in earthly affairs, like during crises?
That's a good question. It gets into the concepts of dharma and adharma, righteousness and unrighteousness, and the cyclical nature of yugas, the different ages of the world.
Okay, so how does that all tie in?
In each yuga, the balance between dharma and adharma shifts, and divine intervention is generally thought to happen only when that balance gets really out of whack.
So it's like a hands-off approach unless things reach a critical point.
Right. And also, Pitrloka is known as Loka, the realm of death.
So it's where we come to experience the consequences of our actions, our karma.
Exactly. These challenges and crises are all part of the soul's journey.
Okay, what about Pitrloka, the realm of ancestors? Where does that fit into this whole scheme?
Pitrloka is a temporary space within Loka and Loka, where departed ancestors reside before moving on.
So it's not a permanent loka.
No, it's more like a transit point. A place for souls to gain momentum or gati for their next stage of existence.
So what happens to the souls who don't attain moksha? Where do they go between incarnations?
They wait in different dimensions based on their prarabdha, their accumulated karma.
So their karmic blueprint for the next life determines where they go and when they're reborn.
Exactly.
Okay, here's another question. Can we as Jivatmas, individual souls, actually become Devas and live in Svarloka?
Absolutely. The position of a Deva is not like a fixed identity. It's more like a role that can be attained through spiritual evolution and good deeds.
So it's like a cosmic promotion based on your spiritual progress.
Exactly. And there's a great story in the Mahabharata about Rishi Mudgala, who was such an evolved soul that he was offered entry to Svarloka with his physical body.
Wow, that's incredible.
But he actually declined. He chose to pursue moksha instead.
So even the pleasures of heaven weren't enough for him. He was aiming for ultimate liberation.
Exactly.
Now, for those who do attain moksha, they reach Vaikuntha, the abode of Vishnu. Where is that in relation to the 14 lokas?
Vaikuntha is said to be beyond the 14 lokas.
Right.
It transcends this whole cosmic structure.
So it's the ultimate destination for those who achieve liberation.
Yes. It's the eternal abode of Vishnu, free from the cycles of birth and death.
And what about figures like Durvasa Rishi? He's known for his intense temper. Which loka does he call home?
Durvasa Rishi resides in Maharloka.
So he's one of those highly evolved sages, but with a bit of a fiery personality.
Well, his role often involves testing and examining others. It's an important responsibility, even if it's not always pleasant.
I guess someone's got to do it.
Right.
Well, this has been an incredible journey through the 14 lokas. It's amazing how much depth and complexity there is to this ancient cosmology.
And I think it really opens up our minds to the possibility of a much vaster and more interconnected reality than we typically imagine.
It does, and it makes you wonder how much more there is to discover both within ourselves and in the universe around us.
It challenges us to question what we think we know and to explore different ways of understanding the world.
So here's something for you, the listener, to ponder. What if we took these ancient ideas about Inter-Loka travel and the activation of inner senses seriously? How might that change our understanding of consciousness and the universe?
It raises some really profound questions about the nature of reality and our place within it.
It does. We'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections on this deep dive. What resonated with you? Do you have any questions about the 14 lokas or anything we've discussed?
Please share your insights with us.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Until next time.
See you then.